Good morning, another Monday. This is Monday, the 20th of November. Very excited to be here with you. As you know very, very well, every week we are here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, as always, please make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. I am sure a number of you have been going there and missed this. But if you're catching this as a recording or you're catching this live, same story. Just make sure you like, comment on, below. Just let us know you're there, and then of course subscribe. And if you can, hit the notifications button. What that does is it helps you to keep track of what's going on. In other words, we will keep you updated every time there is a post of any sort. You will be first updated about it and be aware. So we run, this is called the 7:30 Mentorship Academy. We run it Monday to Friday. Now we call it the Mentorship Academy because it's almost like an umbrella organization. Each one of us, we have 4 coaches on this platform, 3 very, very active. And these coaches come on every single day. So in case this is your first time coming here, or maybe you forgot, Mondays is yours truly, and I run a particular platform called Unleashing Your Destiny, and every Monday I come through with a component of Unleashing Your Destiny in order to share. And I'm very excited because very soon I'll be bringing on an absolute guru in investment. We are looking to bring on an investment guru, one of the best, most influential investment gurus I know. Very quiet, soft-spoken guy, but loaded with data. He's going to be sharing a lot of information around this very, very exciting subject. So for those of you that are going to be coming here, you will find that there's a lot you'll learn from this gentleman. I actually love what he shares, and I am so happy that he's soon going to be part of the morning calls as he shares his investment tips. And then on Tuesdays, we have Dr. Sylvia Mwansa. I'm so proud that finally she has bagged her doctorate. So I'm actually the only person left who hasn't bagged the doctorate yet. I am going to also be studying for my doctorate. So I think that's going to take me another 5 years or something. But because I still have to do my master's in divinity and then do my doctorate. So I will begin to do those, especially the year after. In fact, next year from September, I'll start pursuing that, and I'll be very serious with this pursuit. So she's the one who does the Tuesdays, and she does Mindset Change Program. Wednesday, we have what we call the open market. So there we leave it open. And in that particular case, we usually allow for situations where an individual may be looking to build or do anything on our platform. Then Thursdays, we have Dr. Nelly with Prosperity for Your Soul. And then on Friday, we have Dr. Jackie. She comes through with health tips. So this is what we do Mondays to Fridays, and we do that nonstop. We have been running with this for the last 3 years. Very, very proud of our achievement in those 3 years. It is no mean feat. This is something that we do with passion, with zeal, and we will continue to do it for as long as we can. So today I am picking it up and continuing the series on your managing your personal brand. Now, if you've been following our series, you know that we had those people on AI. We had Sarah Njamu and her team of experts presenting on AI. What was supposed to happen, we're supposed to have the event on Tuesday, meaning tomorrow and Wednesday, the AI conference, but unfortunately they just were not able to get the numbers that they needed in order to make it happen. So what's happening is they are pushing it into March, April next year. I had the privilege of sharing a platform with her on Thursday. Was it Thursday or Friday? I think on Friday, and it was a really enlightening session we had. I was with her and with my good brother and friend, Dr. Kelvin Sokuni, under the KSM Management Consultants platform. They had an HR Indaba, so it was a full day HR Indaba launched by the PS. Very, very successful Indaba. Lots of really pertinent subjects were covered, and we dealt with AI. So I got to share a stage with Sarah as we spoke on AI. She spoke on demystifying artificial intelligence. I obviously spoke on artificial intelligence, the good, the bad, and the ugly. These are my subjects. I've been covering this stuff for a while, so you know that this is something I'm very passionate about. So Today, I am picking it up, like I said, on brand, and we're going to be discussing brand awareness. Remember, we've been looking at the subject of managing your brand awareness or critical modern day skills to master today. So these skills I call hacks. Every one of us here needs to realize that the secret to our growth lies in how well we are able to hack the day-to-days of life. In short, are you creating a hack yourself? Are you doing what you can to build and extend your influence in order to see yourself progress? This is something that a lot of people haven't been able to do very, very well. And a lot of people don't realize that the power to progress, especially in this day and age, lies in your capacity to create brand presence. And this is not just brand presence. There are quite a number of other things that you can do as an individual that will help you create the persona and the pizzazz necessary to see you grow. And so today we are jumping into this. We actually have three. I'm going to cover like three. I think it's going to be three. I'm going to cover these because we were looking at them before. And I talked about enhancing brand recognition, which is crucial for business to stand out in a competitive market. And there are 7 key points on how to achieve this. Now, we did cover 5 before, so I'll kind of rush through those 5. But number 1, consistent branding. That means you maintain a consistent brand identity across all touch points, including your logo, color scheme, typography or typography, messaging, and consistently helps build a strong and easily recognizable brand. So be present, be seen in whichever field you're in, and make sure you have a consistent brand across the board. So whatever it is you do, just make sure it's consistent. I think that's really the key. Number 2, unique value proposition. Clearly define what sets your brand apart from the competition. Highlight your unique selling points and communicate them effectively to your target audience. In other words, when you have an audience that's following what you do, what is it that you bring to the table? What are your unique selling what's your unique selling point, and what are your unique value propositions? What are you offering that the audience will find valuable? I find the idea of value so interesting because I learned some years back that value is perceived. What does that mean? That means, for the most part, most people actually perceive value. You will be amazed, you will be shocked actually, how many people, how can I put it? How many people would, for argument's sake, claim that they have value because obviously they've learned, they've got the degrees or whatever it is, but you'll be stunned that even with that, people don't know about them. You find people that are half as knowledgeable as the other individual, but with a much bigger following. Why? Because that person with half the knowledge is out there. They are present, they are seen, and people have gone to sample what they do, and they think they offer a great value. And so people are willing to pay that person. So that's why we say that value is perceived. It's not necessarily intrinsic. Definitely, once somebody comes to check out the goods, you're going to have to demonstrate some form of value. There will have to be a trade-off. There will have to be something that they get to and actually realize, oh, okay, yeah, so they do have value. So in other words, you're not skin deep. So we have a lot of skin deep, very shallow people. But if you have what it takes, when people come and sample you, they'll discover, oh wow, this guy's worth his salt, and or this lady's worth her salt, and that would change the game completely. So the number 2 is this value proposition must be very clear, and you must demonstrate this consistently. Number 3, quality products and services. Again, once people go past the image, the brand, they gotta get to the product or service, and they gotta find value in that product or service. So in other words, deliver high quality products or services that meet or exceed customer expectations. Positive customer experiences will lead to word of mouth, recommendations, and repeat business. This aspect, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the aspects that I find so profound, that when people actually realize that you really are the stuff, they will be very excited. The word will go out. They will go out there and tell people, hey, this person, you better use this product. Hey, you ever heard of this person? Use that. So word of mouth works on this one. When your products are quality, when your service is quality. And you know, the other day, my good friend, Coach Mokula, posted something which I always repost. He talked about the fact that a lot of Zambians like to abuse Zambians by not paying value for Zambians. Like they would rather pay 10 times more money to a foreigner, especially in our space. You know, we do peak performance, we do, you know, coaching, motivation, training, whatever. You'll be surprised to note, no, well, maybe you'll not be surprised, but a lot of Zambians would rather pay. I mean, I know, for example, that a company will say, "Oh, we would like to do some what's it called, customer service training, or we'd like to do team building, or would like to do whatever it is they would want to do." And what you find very interesting is that for a lot of companies, when it comes to a foreign entity, they will pay top dollar. Okay, they will fly them in, put them in a hotel or something, and then pay a lot of money, pay them good money. And when a Zambian asks for even a fraction of that and still give the same job, they will not give it to them. So for argument's sake, for example, in my field, I'll be very honest with you. Now, in my field, we have a price of somewhere between, for our kind of work, we all are different, but I can generally say a decent fee would be between 10 and 40,000 kwacha a day, depending on what's being taught. Because, you know, the more complex what's being taught, the more money should be paid, the more top dollar should be paid. So, for example, customer service, if you're doing a full day with all the scenarios, you should be paying 15 to 30,000 kwacha a day. Now, that's a really minimal fee, okay? But people would rather pay double that, triple that to a foreigner. Now, it's easy to, you know, complain. But what I also discovered is that for a number of Zambian businesses, the quality of service and the product is questionable. And that's the reason why so many people get so pissed off and choose to or opt for foreign companies. So I think the onus now lies on us as Zambians to ensure that we bring top service to the table. Let's bring good quality products. Let's bring good quality service. Let's have the honor and decency of being what we claim to be. So that's number 3. Then number 4, content marketing. This is another very, very important aspect of this whole idea about brand value. So create valuable and relevant content that resonates with your target audience. Content can include blog posts, videos, social media updates, and more. And this positions your brand as an authority in your industry and keeps you top of mind. And you know, this authority thing is so interesting. The other day, I had the privilege of being on that top Zcast, and you know, it's a very, very popular. I think it's the most popular podcast right now in Zambia. They have the numbers. Now, on that particular podcast, one of the presenters, Elson, asked me, on what basis do you call yourself an authority? That was a very, very good question. I found it very provocative, and we were able to engage, and I did explain. But, you know, building off his question, what makes you an authority? The answer, it's the positioning that you have within a given community. What is your position within that given community? How are you perceived in that given community? So if you are positioned as an expert, you become an authority. And that's why valuable and relevant content that resonates with your target audience is absolutely critical. You can't just show up from nowhere and become an authority. You gotta have a history. You gotta have you've gotta build it up. It's something that you build up over the years. And that's why valuable and consistent churning out of data on a regular basis. In fact, I'm not even going to call it data. I'm just calling it real, valuable, life-changing, impacting information. If you can issue that regularly, it makes a difference. And so those of you here who are listening to us right now, and you want to be a brand authority, or you want to be a recognized brand, brace yourself and prepare for years of sowing. Because you see, that's part of the process. And a lot of people, I'll be very honest, a lot of people don't like that part. They don't like the idea that it's going to take them years. And this is one of the reasons why both in Mindset Change, well, not just both, in all our trainings, whether it's Prosperity for Your Soul, Mindset Change, Unleashing Your Destiny, we always say, have an understanding of who you are. Get a deep, deep understanding of your purpose. Because to build a brand, I mean, can you imagine building a fake brand? And when I say a fake brand, I mean building a name of a field you're not even an expert in, or a field that you don't even have passion for, especially that part, the part where you have no passion. Because you may not be an expert, but if you love what you do, you can begin to build yourself by gaining knowledge and insight on a regular basis over a period of time, and you do end up becoming an expert. So I take the expert bit back. What I'm saying is doing something you have no passion for, doing something you don't even like, and then you become an authority in a field you don't like. I mean, you'd have ultimate imposter syndrome. You'd feel horrible because you don't like the whole thing. So whatever it is you're doing just because, but you have no passion for it. And that's the worst place you can ever find yourself. Okay, so that's very important. Create valuable, relevant content that resonates with your target audience. And then number 5, and this is where I now want to kind of come and finish and really build on this. Number 5, maintain an active, so this is number 5, which is social media engagement. Okay, so social media engagement. In this day and age, you can't ignore social media. I mean, unless, you know, in marketing, we always say, go where the crowd is. So if the crowd is on social media, you can't avoid it. Whether you like it or not, you've got to be there. So you may not want to be there, but you've got to find somebody who's going to be there so that they're able to keep up with what's going on. Again, that Z podcast was very interesting. Somebody in the audience asked the founders of this particular platform how it is that they're able to, how do they determine who comes on the show, who speaks on the show, and things of that nature. And they say something very interesting. Kalenga actually said that they both don't ever, they're hardly on social media. And that's really interesting. So if you're hardly on social media, how do you know what's trending? They said, ironically, the wife to Kalenga is always on social media, so she knows what are the trending topics. Now that's interesting. So you see, even if you may not be interested in being on social media, you got to have somebody plugged in, because that's where the crowd is. And when the crowd is there, you can follow up that crowd and you can be able to know what's going on. So any one of you listening to me right now by these platforms, you need to make it a point that you are plugged in. If you're not plugged in, employ someone to be plugged in, but you got to keep up with what's going on. And in the process as well, create and maintain active presence on social media platforms, engaging with your followers. This is a very, very important point. A lot of people do not engage. And if you don't engage with your followers, the algorithms will penalize you. And that's just depressing. Yes, they'll penalize you. How do they penalize you? By serving less of your posts. So your posts won't be served. When you post, they don't get served. And that means nobody sees them. But when you engage, there is a response. And that's why the least engagement you can do, at least, is just like, dislike, like, dislike. That's the least you can do. But if you can, a little response, a thank you, or whatever, or an engaged conversation. I post a lot of stuff relating to my field, and a lot of it tends to be a bit provocative. It provokes conversations and debates. And for me, that's good, because then you get this engagement going on. So the posts are very, very active and very alive. What that does for you and me is it builds and establishes that brand. So it ends up becoming quite powerful. So remember, maintain an active presence on social media platforms, engaging with your followers and responding to comments and messages promptly. Okay, consistent interaction can foster a strong community brand around you. So that's one of the most powerful ways in which you grow. I've found that if you can get a regular, consistent interaction with people in your network that follow you, that creates a very powerful community. I know, because I've seen it on my own community. I think right now I'm just shy of 190,000 followers on Facebook, which is a fairly substantial number. And I'm using that to help me build TikTok, which I just got onto just literally a month ago, because I realized that Reels is another space that is very, very interesting. I really, if I had a way, I would never do it. But I realized I can't run away from it because it's very powerful. And the moment I started posting those Reels, a lot of people have been saying, this is what we wanted. So obviously it means it's those who don't like reading, so they want to go for the actual videos. It's a bit of work, but thank God for AI. I use AI, so it's really solved my problem. So what I'm telling you is that for those of you that are actually following this, social media engagement is a very powerful way of building your brand. And what you'll note is that even notorious people build a powerful following, which actually translates to money. So it doesn't even matter what you do, whether you do good, positive stuff or negative, lousy stuff. It's immaterial. The irony of life is that there are people who follow. There are people who like that stuff. In fact, the sad part is that the junk gets more following than the quality stuff, you know. But such is life. So the bottom line is, whatever it is, as you listen to me, whatever it is that you do, find a way to make it interesting. Find a way to get onto these platforms and actually begin to exploit them. And remember, like I said, it's a process. It takes time. Number 6, influencer marketing. This is another very, very interesting space. Now, this influencer marketing, so what is an influencer? An influencer is basically anybody that has numbers that follow them, and then 2, can make suggestions that actually can influence those people into making decisions. That's an influencer. So I'll give you a very, very good example of influence. Again, sorry, today I'm using Z Podcast a lot as an example, but I think there was a lot that when we interacted with them on their platform a few days ago, I was able to learn 1 or 2 things, and they kind of back up what I'm saying. Z Podcast, I think a year or 2 ago, had asked a well-known musician, in fact, let's not even go far because it's public knowledge, Yomaps. They had asked Yomaps to come and feature on their show. And it is said, nobody really can prove whether it's true or not true, but it is said that Yomaps and his wife asked for 30,000 as payment to be on their platform. And then one of the podcast hosts said, no, we don't pay people to be on our platform. Our platform is big enough. We don't need to pay. And so they refused. And then that went out there. I don't know how it went out there. And all of a sudden, word got out there that Yomaps had requested to be paid 30,000. Now, this began some crazy thing on social media, which turned and went south. And within a short time, so many people on social media were so angry with Yomaps and his wife and decided to punish them. I think you all remember that. They just did this. We're not interested in Yomaps. We're not going to support him. And I think a lot of you remember that got so bad that it reached a point where even the awards, there was an award, I can't remember which one, in which a rival musician, Chilewan, ended up winning a lot of awards to punish Yomaps, which is so interesting. And all this was going on social media. So where am I going with the influencer marketing thing? What I'm trying to say is influencers on social media have the power to literally influence the direction of people en masse. That's why they're called influencers. So it's very important that you understand who these influencers are, and you need to ask yourself if those influencers are a positive or a negative to your brand. It's very, very important to do that. So, for example, you've got a lady like Mwizu Kanji, who's got over 1 million followers, and you've got a lady like Mutale Mwanza, MM. She's also got over 1 million followers. Now, depending on your type of brand, you can easily figure, should I go with Mwizu Kanji or should I go with Mutale Mwanza? So it depends on your brand. It depends on what you're doing. So it's very important to figure out which of these two are going to give a boost to your product. So, and I'm not saying they're just those two, there are quite a number of influencers across the board. And so the key is learning how to collaborate with these influencers or industry experts who align with your brand values. Their endorsement can significantly boost your brand's visibility and credibility. So for example, in our circle, you note that I'm a brand and an influence. SBM is a brand and an influence. Dr. Nelly is a brand and an influence. We've come together. Dr. Jackie is a brand and an influence. I interact a lot with Dr. Mjajati. He's a very well-known brand and influence. I also interact with Chilamba Kajama, who's like my mentor and leader. He's a very powerful brand and influence. So you see that by those type of associations, it's able to allow me to ride on a very, very safe space. Now, in the Christian circles, Dr. Joseph Imakando, as in Bishop Imakando, is a very powerful, influential clergyman in the country. I have associated with him. Dr. Nevas Mumba is a very influential politician. I have associated with him. So do you see where I'm going? What I'm trying to say is that there are very strategic alliances you need to formulate between yourself and those individuals, and make sure that that then helps push your brand forward. It's true that you can also associate with wrong people, and that can actually harm your brand. So you got to be very careful. So for example, recently I appeared on one of these reality TV shows as somebody going there in my capacity and space as a counselor to train a number of musicians. And so by default, I ended up finding myself associating with Maki too, with his wife, Francia and her husband, Dandy Crazy and his wife, and Yo Maps and his wife. So we had this event and we're all together. Now, again, those are brand collaborations. So the issue here is, what does that write-off do? You always have issues. There will always be in situations where that can actually work against you or can work for you, depending on what your brand is. But at the end of the day, you use this, you leverage this, and if you do it correctly, it can actually push you further. But do know that brand associations are very critical. You must double or treble examine them, because if you don't do it correctly, there's always that potential it can backfire and it can end up messing you up. And that has happened to all of us. I mean, even I myself, as a quote-unquote brand influence, have ended up losing some colleagues and friends because of who I am. And frankly, for those people, associating with my brand was actually not helpful for them at all. So you see, that's a very, very interesting thing. I'm considered controversial, and I remember one time one of my I could call him a sponsor, because yeah, they are sponsors. One of my sponsors, the Hot FM director, was actually talking to me about I did protest about ads on my show. I said, hey, boss, there are just too many ads on my show and it's messing my flow. I can't talk to my customers to my guests properly, because every few minutes I have to stop for an ad. So he says, I'll get back to you, Rev. And then he got back to me and said, listen, Rev, your point is valid, but we got to run ads. So what we do, let's just have specific points in your show where we run the ads because they pay our bills. I said, yes, sir, I hear you. So we came to an agreement. And then he says, but one thing you could do, Rev, is you could get a sponsor. I said, well, that sounds like a plan. Then he says, yeah, but you know what, Rev, you're just too controversial. And I think if you get a sponsor on your show, it will kill who you are. And that's why we've never sold your show, because we appreciate the angles you bring. You have this freedom on the show that would be very difficult if you had a paid for show. And you know what? I agree, because I would not allow myself to be gagged by a sponsor. I speak my mind. Even in the church circles, I am looked at like a pariah. If you don't know what that word is, go Google it. I'm looked at as a pariah, like, is this guy, okay? But you know what? I just speak my mind. I am who I am. Take it or leave it. I will not pretend. I will not be what I'm not. I speak my mind. And so in the process, that creates a certain level of influence, but it also has its price. So to all of you that are thinking about influencer marketing, remember what I've told you. Be very careful with the associations. If you don't need the heat, don't get associated with certain people. Do not get associated with certain types of influencers, because maybe they just don't bring the right, thing you're looking for in your brand. And so lastly, customer feedback and adaptation. This is another very important one. That's number 7. Listen to customer feedback and be open to making improvements based on their suggestions. Adapting your products, services, or marketing strategies in response to customer needs can build trust and loyalty. One of the things I do all the time on my wall is I always ask for feedback. I've been doing that for years now. And what I've discovered personally is that it's a very, very powerful way of being able to know what people are looking for. So make it a point also, you as a customer, to have a way to receive feedback. I just find it funny that a lot of people don't like feedback because they think they're being criticized. But you know what? Feedback is good, because how else do you know if what you're doing is really, meeting the needs of your customers? What is it that they're looking for? What do they want to see? What would they like to hear? What don't they want to hear? When I started running Prosperity Insights, there's a lot that I learned from following following feedback, because I would get a lot of feedback from people. They would tell me, we don't like this part and that part, and we don't like this and we don't like that. And it goes, even though, yes, there was also really good stuff coming, but there was also a lot of feedback which was coming, and some of it wasn't nice. But you know what? I needed the feedback, because that feedback helped me to know what to do. So even for yourself, as an influencer, as a builder of a brand, whatever it is that you are, You need to have a point in your life where you are able to listen and get feedback from your communities. I actually even create forms from time to time, which I send out to customers just to hear what the customers have to say about what we're doing. And over the years, the feedback has been profound. I have learned so much. And by the way, feedback isn't just good feedback. You want bad feedback. And that's why, but bad feedback is psychological. Bad doesn't mean, let's put it this way, negative feedback. That's the right word. Negative feedback is usually what I call improvement feedback. So what is it that I can improve? What can we do to be better? And with that, people will come and they will give you information. And as you listen to that information, it'll make a very, very big difference for you in as far as your business is concerned. But some people don't want the feedback. Some people hate the feedback because they think it's too negative. They think it's gonna mess with them, or people just hate me or whatever. But I'll tell you this: if you don't take feedback, you'll never grow. Let me conclude with these words. Be aware that enhancing brand recognition is an ongoing process. There you go. If you go to where we were 3 years ago when we started this platform, we're nowhere near where we are now. Where we started from and where we are is miles apart. And we've grown, we've improved all the time. So we're always sitting, learning, and finding ways to grow. So it's an ongoing process. It requires time. And a lot of people, that's where, I find it very funny because a lot of people say, oh, I want to do that. Oh, that's so nice. I want to do it. And I always just watch, I smile, I say, okay, let them run. We'll see how far they'll go. The truth of the matter is that for a lot of people, they think these things happen overnight. They don't. They require time. They require effort. They require a deep understanding of your target audience. So that's why feedback is so important. And regularly assess the effectiveness of your branding strategies and be willing to adjust them as needed to stay relevant and memorable in your market. That's right. So a lot of people don't like that bit, but it's true. If you're not going to be willing to adjust, if you're not going to be willing to do what it takes to twist to what is suitable, you will find yourself stuck. So we've had to do a lot of work ourselves and build that. And I tell you, I am actually, honest to God, very proud of where we have reached and what we have achieved. As I'm speaking to you, we have some big people now talking to us. And I know that sounds funny to say, we've got big people. It sounds very pompous. It's not really pompous. It's really just acknowledging that when you churn out value over time, there comes a point where things take off. You just hit that tipping point and everything just shoots off into the stratosphere. And you no longer have to struggle because whatever you invested has paid off. And so what I'm saying is that you reach a time when you no longer have to pay for it because it will now run on its own. And I'm proud where we've reached as the 730 Academy. We're at a very good place and we're growing every day. We're getting better and better. And for me, I'm so proud of that. I look forward to when this baby is going to grow to a complete, massive movement. And I know it will. So on that note, I want to thank you all. Next week, we'll be looking at a very, very interesting topic called managing your communication. This is another area where I have a lot of stuff. And this is part of your brand strategy and how this definitely keeps one ahead of the contemporary. So you've got to learn how to manage your communication as an individual, and this will keep you ahead of the pack. And so on that note, I want to thank you all for being here. Tomorrow, we are back with Dr. Sylvia Monsa Sunshine, Coach Sunshine, and she will be taking us through another aspect of Mindset Change program. On that note, have a great day, everybody. Remember to share this. Remember to like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe so that we grow the channel. Thank you so much and have a really